In Yorkshire, we're about to make an historic decision that will change forever the way that we're policed. We're at the Fire and Police Museum in Sheffield to talk about the issues that matter to you. With me is Mike Pannett, a former police officer with 20 years experience, Dr. Craig Patterson, a lecturer in criminal justice issues, and Lorraine Fraser, who's experienced violent crime at close hand. Now, the commissioners will have a really tough job. Crime and the fear of crime affect nearly all of us, whether we're in the cities or the countryside. This is rural North Yorkshire. Looks peaceful, doesn't it? Maybe you'd think that crime wouldn't be a problem here. Well, you'd be wrong. I'm in Kirby Moorside. It's the kind of place most of us come for a day out. Nigel Richardson's a private hire driver. He's lived in Kirby Moorside all his life, and he says there's enough crime here to keep the police busy.
There's not enough police on the ground to come and talk to Mrs. Smith, who's got a problem with noisy neighbours, or with Jack the farmer who's losing his machinery. The response isn't quick enough as far as people are concerned.
Mike Pannett knows all about the problems. He used to work here when he was a sergeant with North Yorkshire Police.
What we're doing tonight, at the moment, they've got the top end covered at Helmsley, Kirby and Pickering. It's such a vast area is Rydale, and here we are in one of the market towns here. But it might be that at night, for example, you're travelling 30 to 40 miles from job to job, and often fielding maybe 2-3 police officers to cover 600 square miles.
Most crimes happen in our towns and cities because that's where most people live. I'm here on the Tang Hall estate in York, and residents here have had more than their fair share of problems. Mike Pannett served in York as well as Rydale.
Any police crime commissioner knowing the area needs to know what's going on in areas like this in Tang Hall, and it's absolutely apparent around here that high on that list is antisocial behaviour, and to me that's things like criminal damage, drug abuse, burglary, youth congregating at night, and I think they really need to get to understand exactly what the issues are, and in that way then they can target the right resources to deal with the problem that they've got.
A lone police community support officer stands behind a cordon as inquiries continue into the death of a 16-year-old girl in the Tang Hall area of York late last night.
Simon Moss lives across the street from a house where a teenage girl died of a drug overdose earlier this year.
You don't expect it to happen in your area, and you don't expect it to be somebody so young. We don't see the police around here. They're non-existent. You see, like I say, you see PCSOs, but that's about it. And youngsters, I mean, they know PCSOs haven't got an awful lot of power behind them.
In York and across Yorkshire, the commissioners face a tough task, and it's going to be almost impossible to keep everyone happy. Well, we saw in that report that many people in Yorkshire are still expecting a lot more from their police force. Well, let's take a look at what these changes will mean to the victims of crime. Lorraine, tell us what happened to your son Tyrone.
My son was brutally murdered in April 2004 by a group of youths in Beeston, Leeds. He was beaten and battered to death, stabbed 3 times. I'm a victim of crime. My son was a victim of crime. I have the life sentence, not them. They will come out one day. The law is far too lenient.
The aim of these commissioners is actually to give people like you a voice. Does that fill you with confidence?
Not really, because I really don't know what the VAT is actually going to deliver anyway. I don't think they've actually said what they're going to do for victims of crime. I know, like, they're probably going to offer, there's going to be money there, funding, but to me, victims of crime want the punishment to fit the crime, sentencing, which we don't have any faith in that in this country.
Mike, we saw you there in that report looking at local issues, crimes that matter to people in Yorkshire. Lorraine clearly doesn't feel the law is on her side, and this is something that a crime commissioner could fix.
Well, absolutely, and it's dreadful what happened, and really now's the chance for police crime commissioners to go out there and listen to what the public have to say. But I think a lot of people are worried about how political the role potentially has come. I think when you start looking at a crime commissioner who maybe listens to the public and then suddenly has to go against the party politics, let's say, of any particular party they're aligned to, and then really be the voice and listen to the community. And I think that's going to be a big test for our police crime commissioners.
And they have quite a job, don't they, Craig, to do that, to restore the trust and the faith of people like Lorraine, victims of crime.
Yes, I mean, that is the principle behind the emergence of commissioners, to restore some trust, to restore some legitimacy in criminal justice. But as we've seen here, the difficulty for the incoming commissioners is they face a public that is mistrustful of how the criminal justice system works.
Just give Lorraine an idea of what a crime commissioner potentially could do, the right person, what they could do to help her.
The aim for the Commission when they come into office is to look at the pool of money and resources that exist and to direct them towards their policing and crime priorities. Ultimately what that means is that where there is a call for support for victims of crime, where there is a call for increased protection, whatever it may be, it is the job of the Commissioner to back that and to push it.
Lorraine, is anything that you're hearing here making you any more or less likely to cast a vote?
I don't know if I'll cast a vote. That's debatable, and that depends on what the police commissioners are going to deliver. We don't really know what they're going to deliver at the moment. But funding, money, a pot of money isn't for me, no. Because what people in the general public want is they want to see the punishment fit the crime. It's not about a pot of money, because I'm not interested in money. I'm interested in the punishment fitting the crime. My son's killers, their sentences did not fit the crime.
Mike, Lorraine's still not convinced she's going to vote. There is actually a lot of speculation that a turnout could be very low. That could really undermine the legitimacy of these elections. Well,
I think that's what's always worried me right from the very beginning, is there's low turnout, because people really don't have a great deal of confidence in party politics. But I think there is a vital role to be had there, and I think it's absolutely vital that whoever gets in is going to be able to listen to the public that they're going to be serving, and if there's hard questions and they're hearing that sentencing is an issue, then they're going to have to go to people like the criminal justice system, knock on their door and say, look, we need to bring about change here because this is affecting my community.
The bottom line being, Craig, that they're being brought in to scrutinise, to hold to account. They are a watchdog, and we can only hope that that can work.
Certainly, and really we will not know until after the elections how well the commissioners are going to work. Their job is to be visible, to be inspirational, to convince the public that they can do something, but time will tell whether they can do that.
To all of you, thank you very much for joining us. Well, these elections, of course, taking place on the 15th of November. Very big changes that affect all of us. So let's take a look at who you'll be voting for in Yorkshire. In North Yorkshire, there are two candidates that want the £70,000 a year job. In West Yorkshire, our biggest force, there are 4 candidates in the running for a £100,000 a year contract. In South Yorkshire, where the issues arising from the Hillsborough disaster have dominated the campaign, there are 5 people in the race there. That job pays £85,000 a year. And tomorrow you'll have an opportunity to put your questions to your local candidates. That's on BBC Radio Leeds with Wes Butters, on BBC Radio York with Jonathan Cowap, and on BBC Radio Sheffield with Toby Foster between 9 and 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. For now though, from all of us here in Sheffield, goodbye.